Hare Krishna. So welcome back everybody to our daily Gita classes. We're going to be continuing from chapter number 1 entitled Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra, and we're going to be covering texts 32 to 35. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're going to be saying the Bangla Charan. Those people who know it can sing with me. Om Ajnanat Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so chapter 1, text number 32 to 35. I'll just say the whole stroke, right? There are 4 of them together. Kim no Rajana Govinda Kim Bhoge Jivita. Kim no Rajana Govinda Kim Bhoge Jivitena Va Yesham Arte Kangshitam No Rajam Bhoga Sukhani Cha Tam Ime Avashtita Yuddhe Pranam Svaktva Danani Cha Acharya Pitara Putras Tathaiva Cha Pitamaha Matula Swashura Pautra Shalya Sambandinastatha Etanna Hantum Ichchami Nato Api Madhusudana Api Trailokya Rajasyasya Heto Kimnu Mahakriti Nihatya Dhatarashtrana Kapriti Syajjanardana. Okay, so word for word translation. Kim, what use? Naha, to us. Rajena is the kingdom. Govinda, O Krishna. Kim, what? Bhogei, enjoyment. Jivitena, living. Va, either. Yesham, of whom. Arte, for the sake. Kankshitam, is desired. Nah, by us. Rajyam, kingdom. Bhogaha, material enjoyment. Sukhani, all happiness. Cha, also. Te, all of them. Ime, these. Avastitha, situated. Yuddhe, on this battlefield. Pranan, lives. Tvaktva, giving up. Dhanani, riches. Cha, also. Acharyaha, teachers. Pitraha, fathers. Putraha, sons. Tatha, as well as. Eva, certainly. Cha, also. Pitamaha, grandfathers. Mathulaha, maternal uncles. Swashuraha, fathers-in-law. Pautraha, grandsons. Shalaha, brothers-in-law. Sambandhina, relatives. Tatha, as well as. Etan, all these. Na, never. Hantum, to kill. Ichhami, do I wish. Gnata, being killed. Api, even. Madhusudana, O killer of the demon Madhu. Krishna. Api, even if. Trailokya, of the three worlds. Rajasya, for the kingdom. Heto, in exchange. Himnu, what to speak of. Mahi krite, for the sake of the earth. Nihatya, by killing. Dhatarashtran, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Naha, our. Ka, what. Pritihi, pleasure. Syat, will there be. Janardana, O maintainer of all living entities. It's a purport and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? So this is a translation for the first verse. Now we have got the second and third verse. O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? Now the last verse. O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Purport. Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasure for cows and the senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy Arjuna's senses. But Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely, when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. The transcendental life, however, is different. Since the devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before they are coming into the battle pit, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Okay, so this is a very, very long verse, and it's also a very important verse because it very nicely summarizes what is the conception of a materially conditioned person. The words that Arjuna has used here to address Krishna are three. One is Govinda, another is Madhusudana, and the third one is Janardhan. There are three different words that Krishna has used to address, Arjuna has used to address Krishna, and they all carry a certain meaning. So the word Govinda, as Prabhupada explains in the purport, means go plus Vinda. Go means the cows, but also means the senses. And Vinda comes from the Sanskrit word Vindati. Vindati means to delight. So Govinda means that person that delights the senses. But which direction are we looking at? Is he supposed to satisfy our senses, or are we supposed to satisfy his senses? So this is the point of a materially conditioned person. He has got so many self-centered material desires. He wants to enjoy, he wants to exploit nature for his own benefit, for his own enjoyment. So he wants to find happiness by exploiting. And he wants God to be his order supplier for such happiness, for such plans that he wants to execute, and he just wants God to go along with his plans. But actually, that is not how it works. If we do the opposite way, that is the actual meaning of the word Govinda, is when we strive to please the senses of Krishna, then automatically we become pleased. By constitution, we are the soul, which is part and parcel of Krishna, who is a supreme whole. There is never a thing in our existence that we have seen that a part is greater than the whole, right? The position of the part is always to remain subordinate to the whole. Just like Prabhupada makes this example a lot, is that if there is a driver, and if the driver follows the command of the master, then he can get the opportunity to drive in world-class cars that he will not ever have the ability to enjoy on his own endeavor. It's beyond his league to be able to even get the opportunity to drive in maybe like a Rolls-Royce or a Range Rover. But because he is subordinate to his master who owns all these cars, he gets the facility to be able to enjoy those facilities. So this is the point. And the reason why we don't understand this is because of this material conception of life. Material conception of life is completely different from spiritual. Spiritual conception of life is that you are as part and parcel and you've taken a subordinate position, while material is you have to take the superior position, which is not according to our constitution, right? And what happens is, when you start in the material conception of life, you start to think in terms of I and mine. So I means that you are considering to be the enjoyer, and mine meaning you're thinking yourself to be the master. And as we said yesterday, that Lord Rishabdev, when he was giving his instructions to his 100 sons, he says it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter number 5, text number 8, that material existence starts because of attraction between man and woman. Yeah, a man and a woman come together, and when they come together, they start thinking that, okay, this is my wife and this is my husband. Before this meeting, there are so many women out there. At that time, there was no attraction. But as soon as there is marriage, there is connection, then that person starts thinking in terms of, oh, he is now mine, or she is now mine. And based on this attraction, it is a very, very hard knot. And from this knot, it creates a bigger and bigger web, or a net. So you start thinking, oh, this is my wife, this is my child, this is my properties, this is my house, my friends, my relatives, and everything comes from this one initial knot. And that is the knot that Arjuna is going through right now. He is thinking in terms of his own family members. But if you understand, Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and on top of that, he is a Grahastha. So he is within the Varnashram system, and this is his job. His job as a Kshatriya is to protect the people from harm, and at the same time uphold religious principles in society. Now, Kshatriyas are trained from a young age to think of the entire society as being their family. Right? We see so many examples of so many past monarchs in the Vedas of how Lord Ram treated entire Ayodhya as his own sons and daughters. That is the role of a king. A king is supposed to look at his subjects as his own children, and as the father, he is duty bound to make sure that they are actually utilizing their human life in the correct way. Now, what happens if the king starts to distance the society and doesn't start looking at them as their own sons and children? What if they just focus on their real family as being their only family? Then they're not able to work in the right manner. So Arjuna is getting caught up in this intense emotions, where he is now not able to see the ultimate good. And his definition of ultimate good is reducing from the society at large to only his own self, or his extended self, a sense of bodily relationships. And so this is the problem that he is having. So Arjuna is finding it very difficult at the moment, and he's saying so many points that on the surface will seem very, very nice or very convincing. But actually then what happens is, when Krishna starts speaking the Gita, he will cut down all the arguments of Arjuna. So this just shows that sometimes people will have so many conceptions. So people are considered to be very intelligent with their own understanding of the way they look at the world. But if that viewpoint is fundamentally wrong in the terms of their thinking, in terms of the material conception of life, then it will eventually end in frustration. It will eventually end in the position that Arjuna is. Because this is what happens when people are stuck in the material conception of life. They are ultimately frustrated in life in their attempts to find happiness. But this is a very good point as well. And this is the whole point of the Gita, that there comes a time that when you are materially frustrated, when you are materially exhausted, when you do not see any reason for existing, Arjuna is being bombarded with three levels of tension. The first tension he is having is emotional tension. The sight of being on the war has caused a mental earthquake, in like a internal earthquake within him. He cannot think straight. He came prepared to fight. Then he saw the events on the war. The vision of the war has changed him and his intention to fight. And so now his emotions are all over the place. So that's the first tension. Second is that he's facing a ethical tension. He is concerned, or he's torn between two duties that he has to perform. Does he give preference to his Kshatriya duty, meaning to protect and to uphold dharma, or does he give preference to his Kula dharma, which means his duty to protect his family lineage? And what happens when both of these are coming head on? That what happens when the people who are aggressors are his own family members? Because as a Kshatriya, he has to kill the aggressors. And as a family man, he has to protect his lineage. So when these two duties came head on, which one does he choose? So that is the second tension that he was having. Third tension he's having is an existential tension. This is when people lose the will to even live in this world. And this is what he's having. We don't want to just live in this world aimlessly. We want some meaning in our life. And that meaning comes when you are able to enjoy life with family. Why do we do anything in this world? Why does anyone try to even gather anything valuable? Like a child has got an exam and he gets a grade and say he's got an A. Yes, he will find some happiness that he got an A. But where does he get more happiness from? When he goes to the mother and father and shows that, look, I got an A. And then when the mother and father praise him and give him some sweets in return for his efforts, he gets so much more pleasure. Or if anyone tries to build such a big empire, but if there's no one in the world who is going to glorify him for doing such a wonderful efforts, a wonderful business achievement, then what is the point of even doing it? So the whole point is that we do all our activities because we want to derive happiness from sharing that result with our loved ones. We get more happiness when we can relate our affection is reciprocated, right? So the question is, who are we doing the service for? And this is the whole point of the Gita. It is to raise our understanding of who are we doing our service for. If we do our service for people who are for low character or people who are limited, then we will eventually be frustrated. But if we can manage to raise that level of who we serve to be the divine, to be to the devotees, to be to the spiritual master, then we will be purified. We'll get more and more progress in our life. So for example, we have the example of Karna. Now Karna, although he was considered to be a virtuous man, but because he had surrendered himself to pleasing and upholding his friendship with Duryodhana, he thought it was a two-way friendship, but actually it was a one-way. Duryodhana wanted to exploit the fact that Karna had an animosity with Arjuna, and so he will be a useful person to keep on his side. There was no actual friendship there. It was a conditional friendship. So, but Karna thought different. But because of his continued association with trying to serve and to do Duryodhana's bidding, he completely surrendered himself to such a person that what happened? His character got destroyed. It got eroded. It got eroded to such a point that he had the audacity to insult Draupadi at the gambling match. And he had no shame in attacking the Pandavas over and over again. So you have this point that who you associate with and the actions that you do will determine your future life. On the other hand, if you dedicate yourself to God, if you dedicate yourself to Guru or to the devotees, then you will have an increase in your progress. An example for this is Shatrughna. In the Ramayana, when Bharat and Shatrughna came back from their maternal uncle's place and they found out that in their absence that there's such a big thing that happened, that Ram was sent to exile. At that time, they were so shocked to see the entire Ayodhya citizens turned against Bharat. But Bharat was innocent. He did not know what conspiracy had taken place. And when he found out that this is what happened, he was heartbroken. But Shatrughna, being the loyal brother of Bharat, when he found out that it was actually the whole conspiracy was created by a woman named Manthara, then at one time he saw Manthara alone and he walked up to her and violently shook her. And Bharat saw this and Bharat said, "Stop, don't do it, because we are not supposed to attack any woman. And if you do this activity of striking her, it would displease Ram the most." And so when he heard that, he calmed down. Although punishment would have been justified, but because Bharat had dedicated his life to following and pleasing Lord Ram, naturally it raised the level of character, raised the level of purity in that person. It made that person becoming more and more progressively good natured. They are not able to do such bad things because they are serving the Almighty good. Right? So this is what Arjuna is saying here in number 32, that Yesham arte kangshitam no, that for the people that you are fighting for, now they are on the other side. So it's like, what is the point of fighting? But Krishna, through the messages of the Gita, will raise his vision from trying to please Bhishma and Drona to trying to please the Almighty. Actually, he says in the end of the Gita, in the 18th chapter, that Krishna tells Arjuna that all work that you do has to be directed towards pleasing the Supreme. And then, of course, it's revealed that the Supreme is Krishna himself. So if you do what Krishna wants you to do, then that is going to be for the ultimate good. But we cannot see that. We are not able to see that until we surrender to Krishna, until we are able to understand the vision of the Krishna, the vision of the Gita's messages, that Krishna, which is Krishna's vision. Krishna says that he comes down to this earthly planet for some purpose. Now, what is that purpose? That purpose is given in 4.7, 4.8. That he comes to uphold religion, to protect the devotees, to destroy the miscreants. So that is his purpose. The purpose he comes to is to basically bring back human society into the protection of righteousness. And for that, he needs, or he doesn't need, but he wants his devotees to basically take the positions of authority. Because if they do take the positions of authority, and if they start to run the world, then there will be prosperity, There will be religiousness in the world because the king is supposed to be the representative of God. He is, as I said earlier, that the Pandavas, the whole plan was that Krishna wanted to gather all the demonic forces of the entire world in one place and kill all of them, so that Maharaj Yudhishthir is then placed on the throne as emperor of the world, and then there will be prosperity for all. And now we will see that all the Arjuna's fears of why he doesn't want to fight the war. One, that he is naturally compassionate. That compassion, although material, is still a reason why he doesn't want to fight. Two, that there is going to be no enjoyment. Number three, there will be so many sinful reactions that will be incurred. Number four, that it will cause a degradation in family traditions. And then if there's no family traditions, then what will happen is that unregulated men will exploit the womanhood, and from there we will have a degradation of progeny. But all of these will naturally happen if Duryodhana was kept in power. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether he gives up his life here and he left Duryodhana to rule the kingdom. These same things will happen, and it will happen even faster than if the Pandavas were in charge. Yes? So it doesn't matter in that sense, that what he was saying would not have made sense, because if Duryodhana was spared and if he was victorious, then all the predictions that Arjuna had made would have actually come true. But if the Pandavas are there, then maybe not. Because they are virtuous in nature. So that is the whole point of this thing. And so when Arjuna says, "Oh Madhusudana," he is also indirectly criticizing Krishna, because right now the relationship between Arjuna and Krishna is that of friends. He has not yet surrendered to Krishna. He has not yet taken the position that Krishna, you become my master and I become your disciple. That will come later on. So right now the relationship is that between friends, and in friends there is some sort of jest that is happening. So Arjuna is criticizing Krishna, that you are known by the name of Madhusudana, meaning that you are the killer of Madhu. You are not known as Nandasudana or Yashodasudana. You are not known by the names of killing your mother or any of your relatives. You are known as the killer of demons. Well, why are you then telling me to kill my family members? If you yourself are not known as killing your own family members, why are you telling me to kill my family members? So again, this is the point that Arjuna is trying to make, although in a material conception of life. Next, he says Janardana. Now, Janardana has two meanings. He is a maintainer of all living entities. That's one. And is also known as the killer of the miscreants. That's another meaning of Janardana. So he is thinking of the first understanding. Oh, that you are known as the maintainer of all living entities. Then why are you intent on killing so many people in this war? But Krishna has a bigger plan, that the people who are going to be arrayed and going to die on this battlefield, they have got no hope for any reformation now. They have slid down to the darkest regions of ignorance. There is no hope of reforming. Just like they said that you can never straighten a dog's tail. It's become their nature to perform sinful activities. So at that point, the most compassionate thing that you can do to that person is to cut their life short, so that they do not incur more and more sinful activities on their part. They can start anew again and hopefully make a better life out of it. But all this doesn't make sense to a person who has got no spiritual knowledge, because for those type of people, life begins at birth, ends at death. When you have such a narrow understanding of life, it really baffles you the message of the Gita will baffle you, just like right now how Arjuna is baffled. But when understanding the Gita's messages, when the view expands to understand that no, we are not the body, we are the soul, and we are on a multi-life journey, then we will understand the the universe, the universal principles of the Gita, the scientific principles of the Gita, and then we'll be able to appreciate the knowledge of the Gita. And that's what happened to Arjuna. Arjuna, at the end of it, finds that all his illusion is been completely cured. It's all been destroyed, and that he is now willing to serve the highest truth. That is Krishna himself, and not any other in between person. Okay? So that is the purpose of this shloka. Does anyone have any questions? Any comments? Okay. Okay, so Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.